Coach, when you got the opportunity to take this job, what did it mean to you coming back home, I guess?
Well, it's always good to go back home if you had a good experience, and certainly with the family that we have here and the great friends in the state of Nebraska, it was a privilege to be able to come back here. Now, you always leave good people where you were, and we're going to miss them, but I think the move was a good one for our family. There's not a better town than Lincoln to be able to raise a family.
Was it kind of a dream or a place you always wanted to end up as a coach?
As long as the right people were here, and they are. You know, Coach Pelini has put together the staff, and Coach Osborne has put together the athletic staff of the people you want to work with, and obviously this is as good a people as you'll be around. So we're excited to be here.
Ross, because you've worked with Carl before, was it a little easier to kind of come in and kind of know what a scheme a little bit, or kind of what those guys are about?
Yeah, no question. From a scheme standpoint, not only Carl and I working together at Ohio U for 3 years, I had gone when I was at Ohio U and visited with Bo for about the last 6 years, 3 at LSU and 3 here at Nebraska. Every spring I'd spend a couple days with him to see what kind of things he was doing because he had so much success, and we had the connection through Carl. So that's kind of where the relationship with Bo and I came about, and it's worked for us at Ohio. It's obviously worked for Bo here, and I think it was a natural fit to be able to bring me in because I was very familiar with what he was doing.
Coach, how have you adjusted just to the way things are run here in practice? I mean, what's your experience been like so far on the field?
It's been a good experience. We're a little bit faster tempo here than what we did at OU. Obviously, the athletes are a step above, but the coaching's coaching. You know, you got to be able to be a great teacher. You got to be able to get into the classroom and into the meeting room and explain to guys the way you want things done technique-wise. So that stayed the same. I just think from a complexity standpoint, we're more complex here than what we had done at Ohio U, so that's been my biggest adjustment.
What kind of feedback have you got from people just, you know, in the city, just having you back here? I mean, I imagine a lot of people have to be pretty excited.
I'm getting notes, emails, phone calls from people I haven't talked to in 20 years, which is great. I mean, it's too bad in this profession you do have to move around if you want to continue to grow, and that's been hard to leave a lot of good people, but now it's nice to get back in touch with those guys, and it's been pretty special.
You got to be pretty excited to work with the group of guys that you have as well here. You talked about the talent being a step up. I mean, you've got an elite group of even those guys.
I do. You know, you got 2 guys coming back with a ton of snaps. Levante David has taken a ton of snaps, obviously the single game record holder with tackles, so that's very nice. Will Compton has a lot of snaps, but we need to establish depth. Bo has said it several times. Depth at the linebacker position is something we need to get better at, and we got some work to do yet.
How do you establish depth when the guys behind them haven't had much as far as real game experience outside of special teams?
You try to get them in as much game experience as we can through practice. And our practices are fairly physical, so we want to put them in situations over and over and over and over again, so when they do get that first snap, they're ready to go.
Did you scout these guys once you got here, or have you not looked at anything?
Oh, yeah, watched a lot of last year's film, and unfortunately Levante was the only linebacker in there the majority of the time, but I did see Compton in there running around. I did see Whaley in there running around, so I had a little bit of an idea what they did last year. But like I told them, like all 4 of us have said, the new coaches, this is a clean slate for every linebacker that was involved in our program, and the evaluation has only been about 3.5 weeks.
Is the transition difficult at all for you when you were going into a system where, as you indicated, Levante was one of the only linebackers on the field most of the time to working out of a lot of 3 linebacker sets?
Yeah, it is, and it just depends what you're seeing offensively, you know, and we will be seeing a lot more 2-back sets, so we'll have a lot more 3 linebackers in the game now, and that's made it triple my job, which is great. You know, I don't want to be in a 1 linebacker spot. I think I'd be kind of bored, but yeah, getting all 3 guys involved is going to be pretty good for us.
What are you expecting from Will and Levante as far as leadership? How are they delivering?
Well, the thing I like about Will and Levante is not only do they show it on the field, but in the meeting room they're as attentive and ask as many questions as anybody. You know, sometimes seniors or guys that start playing a lot start going, well, I've already done that, you know, and I already know that. But these guys want to learn. They're very, very hungry. They do a great job at teaching our young guys, which we got to have, because they know anything could happen in the game of football. I mean, look at Compton and Fisher last year. All of a sudden, they were done for most of the year. So these guys know they got to get their backups ready, and they've provided great leadership.
Hey, Russell, when did you know you were going to be an assistant coach here? Where were you at? What was that?
It was right toward the end. As a matter of fact, it was right before signing day, the day before signing day when I got a call from Bo. Now, obviously, I knew that Coach Eckler had left, and I had contacted Carl tried to contact Bo, but he wouldn't call me back, which is fine. But he contacted me the day before signing day and said, "Hey, come on down and let's talk and let's see if this is a good fit."
What was that conversation after that like? I mean, it must have been a pretty awesome moment to know that you were going to be able to come back home, coach at a place that you were pretty familiar with.
Yeah, not only for myself, but also for my wife. My wife's from Lincoln also, and this is, we have brothers and sisters here, and their families are here, and I think for the whole family, I think it's going to be a good move for us.
Just to talk a little bit too about your relationship with Carl. I know that you developed that, and that was one. I mean, you had developed a really good relationship with him at Ohio, and just talk a little bit about that relationship.
Well, Carl and I kind of think in the same mode a lot, even when we were at Ohio. Jimmy Burrow, being the coordinator, was the guy who made the decisions, but I think Carl and I really liked kind of the ideas that each of us came up with, and I think that's why Carl wanted me here. We're not afraid, Bo's not afraid, Carl's not afraid to think outside the box and not just do something that we've always done or something that has always worked for us. We always want to look for ways to improve. Hopefully I'm a little bit that way too, so I think that's what kind of made it comfortable for them.
What has struck you about it? Go ahead.
The level of pressure on yourself at all change at BCS school? Do you put in more pressure?
No. To be honest with you, whether I was at UNO, Hastings, Northern Iowa, New Mexico State, Ohio, wherever it is, you want to be the best. I mean, you want your kids to be able to perform. And the quality of teaching and the level of teaching hasn't changed at all. What has changed is the level of athlete that you have, certainly the assistants you had, at the lower levels you got to do it all. Here we have great people in the athletic department to help you, so you can do more with the actual teaching rather than worry about all the other things that go along with it. But the effort, the pressure, when the whistle blows, it's still football, and I don't care what level it is.
What impact has your dad had on your coaching?
Oh, he's the guy. I mean, he's the one that started this whole thing. Being able, there was no better situation for my dad and I than for me to be able to play for him. It was tough. He had to be tougher on me, and that was fine. That's the way we wanted it. But it was a great experience, and if I could model my life after him, I'll be a very successful man.
You always wanted to be a coach growing up, or is this something that came after college?
Once I kind of was on the end of my playing career, if you can call that, at UNO, my eligibility, I was getting a business degree at that time, and I just said, hey, I miss this too much. This is what I grew up with. I'm not being competitive enough. I want to get into the coaching business, and certainly had my parents' support, and it's worked out well.
And Bo's had some reputation of being kind of an enterprising guy on defense, doing the same thing.
Right.
What, if anything, struck you in particular about his style and his scheme when you first got here and got immersed into that defense?
Well, I think just how everything fits together. We can make little changes. Bo and Carl both will make little changes in the same scheme to make it easy for the kids. You can be very complex, but the kids can go all different directions. All we do is we tweak one or two players to mess up the offense a little bit, and it's really easy for the players. So just to be able to take an overriding system and make little changes in there, and it makes it easier for the players to learn.
What do you generally get used to from your years of coaching and how you make those adjustments on the defense versus what you see here now?
Well, I think it's just what the offense gives you. You run a certain defense and something is or is not working. If it's not working, you need to make that little tweak. If it's working, fine, but you might find a little bit better way to fit it up, coverage, whatever.